Such an optimistic middle section in that Beethoven skirt, so such a dark work, and then suddenly there's this ray of sunlight in the middle. And welcome, folks, this is vk3sl, and we are doing our Corona bit. This is the stopgap missions.
Corona discharge.
Oh, yes, indeed. That is the operative word.
Yep, and we're all doing our displacement activities like sorting out the emissions of all the 106 CM5 valves I've got, which I would never do, except I know I've got 3 months of displacement activities to fill in, so
That's
it can
right.
take as long as it takes.
Yeah, you can paint the house over and over and do all of these little things, do the edges and the lawns and, manicure the garden and clip the hedges and wash the car. And do you see them? What are they? What valves are they, Dave?
The 6 CM5s,
6
the ones that came out,
CM5s.
they're the TV line output tubes.
Yes. That's
And
right.
the ones in the school amps.
Yes, that's it. I remember seeing them there in the school amp.
Yep, and the interesting thing is that those school amps only seem to put out about 15 to 20 watts.
Yeah.
And they're meant to be like 120 watt things with 6 valves in them.
Yes.
90% of the valves have got almost zero emission.
Mm.
They've either been sitting in TV sets until the TV set just stopped working and the valve was replaced,
Yep.
or they've been sitting in a school amp for 17 or maybe 40 years in a high school until the Australian sound amp was replaced by a solid state one in about 1980 or something.
Okay.
So I think they're just all worn out.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So you've been just testing them all. So you notice a big difference. Some of the occasional one sort of does work.
Look, I think I've got 6 that might be better.
Yep.
The ones in that school amp that was in the rain, that
Yes.
that almost got no emission at all.
Oh, really?
It must have been sitting in, and probably the sound got more and more distorted, sounding like a B-MITS.
Yes.
And no one cared until probably the school was closed down by Kennett and the thing was thrown out.
That's right. Went out on the nature strip. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's an interesting experiment. So you haven't got to the next stage of seeing if you can cascade them and do something amazing.
Well, I wanted to use the school amps as a modulator. It could be quite neat, wouldn't it, having a school amp?
Oh, yes.
But it doesn't seem to modulate that very much, but I realise I think that what the problem is.
Yep.
And I've been doing a lot of research on trying to get a very standardised design for like 100 or 150 watt emitters.
Yeah, sure.
Trying different configurations and
Yes.
things.
Yep.
And so,
Oh,
it's
that's
interesting.
good. Yeah.
Like, if you put, like you can get 50 watts out of an 807, but it's pushing it. You can easily get 75 watts out for 2,
Yes.
maybe 100, but they tend to get red.
Yep. That's what's happening here.
You put in 4, you are, like, I think you get 50 for 1, 75 for 2,
Yep.
100 for 3, 120 for 4. It doesn't really go up.
But didn't you find that there was a number where things went south?
That depends on the wiring. There's some
okay.
resonance or whatever.
Yep.
But I think all that happens is that the plate currents spread over the 4 valves so that they're not stressing. But you don't actually get 4 times the power.
No.
And also it means it's more efficient. You need more modulation power. And everything varies on everything else, like
Yes.
you vary one thing and everything else
Of course.
varies.
That's right.
So
Yes, everything's interrelated.
I'm sort of looking at maybe if you use 1813, see, they really need at least 1,000 volts for 100 watts. But,
So you can't run them on 800 or 600?
well, see, I've got 700 here. I was just thinking, if you just put, the full plate voltage on the grid, on the screen, that might push them into submission.
Yeah.
And they're a pretty hefty valve. I don't think it's going to hurt them. So I'll do those experiments.
That's
and,
an interesting
see what
one for me because I've got that old 813 MIT sitting here on the shelf, and maybe there's a prospect of just getting the PA working and then maybe doing something else with a with a codan for a buffer and an oscillator.
Yep.
And
Look, and also remember the Barry sale there was at Aircraft Mitters with the 2807s.
Yes, that's right.
You should have really grabbed that.
Yeah, it went for $40.
I found I've got the books of all those things here. The surplus conversion book.
Okay, it was a 7 meg unit though.
Yep. Well, you just change the coil. But look, I just looked in the circuit of those. All they've done is they've got one 807 and the other parallel. They don't have double the amount of components. Like you have all the components in one valve.
Yes.
And then just parallel the wires.
Yes.
And I've done that, And it seems to work better than having all the grid and screen resistors and bypasses on each valve. And it's so much simpler, makes less clutter.
Yes, I think that's what they did in the AT5 as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of...
and the 1154 as well, and others, yeah.
And what I've noticed, like even the handbooks, they tend to complicate things, whereas the military stuff is just meant to work.
Yeah, of course.
And they use the least components because that's least things going wrong.
That's it.
And those aircraft things, it's so simple if you take away all the tuning and funny things. The actual circuit is amazingly simple.
Yes.
So I've been experimenting with that.
Yep.
And, it's, what do you say, it's displacement activity. I've got nothing else.
Oh, look, it's good. Now,
And
this is good.
You can't go and buy components. If you need a such and such resistor, you have to parallel and series all different resistors. It's like working in a concentration camp, making stuff out of
Yes, you
stuff
can't
you've
go
got.
down to the shop. Otherwise, you've got to click and collect and wait for 3 hours. And,
I know, and then you might get booked and
it's
find
outside
out
your
someone was
5K
there before
zone.
and you're in jail for 10 years.
Oh, yes, that's it. That's the new reality. It's the new normal. Yeah, we bunker down and we fish components off a redundant gear. And
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
It's beyond its own parody now, so I don't know what's happening, but there's nothing you can do.
Don't look at the news. Just get involved. No. Get creative. That could all be a good thing. We might all end up being more creative people.
Well, we have to, and it's amazing what you can do when you don't have to worry about time. Time is just endless now.
It is endless. It just keeps going on. It's just the cyclic, ever spin. But no, look, that's most interesting. Good to get an update on the R&D pursuits, and now that's good. The 6CM5. I do remember you got they're all lined up, looking very official in that school in that school lamp. Yeah, and I suppose every black and white TV had one.
Well, that's why they're so cheap, because everyone pulled them out, put them in the junk box, because they've been worn out being in a TV.
Yes.
And they're really thrashed in TVs as well.
Yes.
And see, I think things like the 807s and stuff, there's a lot of new old stock you get. And also in military equipment, okay, it might have been used a few hours for some operations or testing or... Puckapunyal, they do a bivouac and turn the 62 set on or whatever it is for a few hours a year. So basically they haven't been thrashed for years in some domestic piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, good point. No, look, I think it's a good place to look in terms of elegance of design and simplicity and workability and things that may have more of a lasting impact. So yeah, no, that's quite good. How about those aircraft, the Sky Rovers and things like that? What's the layout of those?
Well, the layout's pretty simple, but it's of course they've got all the band switching and all the pre-tuning.
Yeah, I had a look inside one and it sort of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah. What it is, of course, when you tune the channels, the tuning's built into the set, the crystal and all that stuff. So the actual PA stage is simple. It's a 6146, but they're really too small to do anything with. I mean, they're meant for sitting in a cockpit in an aircraft. Yeah. Very compact. So
and you really you'd have to completely redesign the concept and modulate them externally and everything. Because the modulator and those things, they sound very telephonic, don't they?
It's the mod transformers. It's like 200 to 300 without 2K with. It's just designed in the transformer. There's nothing you can do. You'd need to have a different transformer.
Yeah, you'd need to go from the base. Oh, it's the same with the 60A and others. It's a common issue, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just telephonic missions. But okay. Well, good stuff. Well, it's nice to get an update, and so we'll arrange to. Some stage to get some loudspeakers over to you. I'm getting a lot of pressure to do a bit of an expunge. We've got council clean-up this weekend, and I don't think I'm going to see Anthony for a while, so I think quite a bit's going out on the HS strip. So, but I'll keep those speakers aside, so that would be a most interesting
Look, I'd
R&D.
like to do tests, and I've got set up A and B comparisons and things. And,
yes, that'd be good.
It would be quite interesting to test them, and...
well, you can do drive-bys and things. It's never a problem, but we do it all the time. Excuse me. There are certain ways to not get booked. Definitely. And we'll put them aside. Speaker tests.
Okay. Well.
Well, that's all good. Yeah. Well, I haven't got much to report on the certainly not in the R&D. I did get some rubber renew, so it's meant that I've a number of old autophons and things which had lost their compliance. I've put a little bit of this particular concoction on, and it seems to loosen them up quite nicely. So that's been one little small development.
Right.
Yeah, so just little things like that, but nothing in the sort of mainstream electronics.
Yeah, well, look,
area.
all my licorice block autofons is as hard as a rock.
Oh, look, I'll give you some of the stuff. All you need is
Yeah.
a tiny drop, and they'll loosen up, and you might get another, I don't know, you might get a month out of them or something, but it's worth a go.
I've got, like, I found out, I haven't got many working styli anymore. The only one I've got's any good is a moving iron autofon.
Yeah.
And all the other ones I've got, all the Stantons and Stanton Arthur Hicks ones.
Oh, yes.
They're all just worn out. The needles are gone.
Oh, really? Oh,
So
that's a pity.
I need to get more.
Oh, well, there's plenty around. We'll just we'll dig some up.
Not that I haven't played a record for a long time, but I thought it'd be good to get to play a chord.
Oh, yeah, play some chords. Yeah, definitely. No, so it's worth it. I was able to, an excellent cartridge here is that Mirror Twin, the ELAC Mirror Twin, and they were used a lot in the various stations. I've got a handful here, but the problem is the styli have all completely seized up, and I bought some new old stock from America with some brand new ones, but they had the same problem. The rubbers are totally hardened. And the fellow just gave them to me to muck around with. And I tried things like WD-40 and all sorts of things you can try to soften up make them compliant again. And but I had no success, and I destroyed them all trying to do something. But I kept the broken ones, and I put a little bit of this rubbery new on, and it's pretty impressive. It seems to come alive. So I've actually put one on, and I can give you an example.
Right.
And I put some of the stuff on the rim of the bier, and that's got rid of some of the rumble. It's made it's pretty toxic stuff. You can't use it inside. You almost pass out with the fumes. It's got some really nasty chemical something in it, but it seems to have given at least a little bit of extra life to these old cartridges.
I remember the ELAC ones years back when we were doing that.
The apple
we're
tree.
preoccupied with those, and
Yes.
you had about 50 different versions of
Yes.
certain record with that cartridge. It sounded fantastic.
It was the best of them all. Then it completely that one broke, and then I didn't have any others to replace it. But now I've just put one in this afternoon, so we can give this a try and have a listen. This is one of those ELAC Mirror Twins from 1960 odd.
Now, good.
Yeah. All right. We'll play this and then we'll come back. Tommy Dorsey with Ziggy Elman on the trumpet there, and that's sampling the ELAC Mirror Twin cartridge with its native starter, which has just had a little bit of injection of life. Now, that record was completely unplayable. It's steel to death. It's gone white. And so I'm pleased that at least it can, it can come up reasonably well with a with this vintage cartridge.
Yeah, that's very good.
So it works quite well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can only hear. I wasn't listening in 5. But
No. But it's it's an improvement. And the other way of doing it, of course, is to use the steel needles in the other system, which I've got on the other side of the room, which is very good too.
Yeah.
That works very nicely. And so, yep, it's always looking for new possibilities. Yay. Anyhow.
Well, let's get back to the music. I've selected like 6 of the best valves, so I'll see if how it modulates. I'm doing some tests on the numbers frequency, so
yes,
won't affect your missions.
No, that's all fine. I don't mind at all. Now you can certainly do whatever you like. And no, most interested to hear about the 6CM5s and any other developments here on. So I remember you sort of look at 807s in parallel, and it sort of got to a diminishing return point, didn't it? Or a sort of...
Well, it does, yeah.
Yeah, and you found that, I think
4's about, there's really no point going over 4.
Yeah, so they just must loaf along, that meters you've got with 4 807s.
Well, it does, yeah. If it doesn't, it's meant to be totally foolproof, I guess.
Yeah, well, that sounds very good.
The worst thing that could happen, I suppose, if the valve shorted itself out, it just melt the cathode resistor. If it didn't pop a fuse, so they're sort of self-regulating. Yeah,
that's good. Or you always put sort of safety systems in anyhow. You sort of have overcurrent, things, fuses and stuff.
I might even have to start looking at building a solid-state meters.
That's a bit too. That's out of your pass band.
I overcomplicate those things as well. I mean, why? I mean, it's 2 megs or something, up to even 3.5. Probably a million transistors will work there perfectly well.
Probably would. Now, the interesting thing would be to see if you could modify a Codan further, because I know you've done lots of experiments with Codans, but they are sort of bulletproof, aren't they, in many respects?
They are. The problem is, they've got that wide band output stage.
Yeah.
So the trouble is there's no tank circuit.
Yeah, fair enough.
So if you run them Class C, there's nothing for them Class C or eyes on. There's nothing for them to lock into.
That's right, I know what you mean.
So you have to rebuild the whole thing with a tuned circuit. Then you'd have to... and unsoldering those transistors from those circuit boards is almost impossible.
Yeah, fair enough. So you can't do anything in situ. You can't sort of add to it, really.
Not really.
Okay.
Look, I suppose you can do everything. It'd probably be quicker just to get some RF transistors or something. I've probably got some here, or ones that would work, and try them. In fact, I might get that Nortel back from Laurie.
Yeah.
And just play around with those transistors.
Well, I mean, that thing's probably set up to go. I was reading about those Nortels last night, and they're pretty good, aren't they? I mean, everyone seemed to use them.
Yeah, but apparently, that's Laurie reckons it's not economical to get that module going.
Oh, really?
It's a different form of whatever.
Oh.
But anyway, I'll have it back. I don't know why, instead of pulse width, shove RF into it. You may only get a few hundred watts instead of 2 kilowatts, but something might happen.
Well, you never know. You got to try. And, there's always conventional wisdom in what you should and shouldn't do, but unless you actually suck it and see and try it out, you're probably, this is the way forward, I think. You've got to myth bust and take a few risks along the way and move out of the conventional passband, and often good things happen. I think that's how a lot of discoveries are made. So, but they're aren't they Class E or something?
They are. But
that's another paradigm.
Look, the transistors go up high enough; they'd probably work. You might be able to do something with them. That wouldn't work as efficiently, obviously. It wouldn't be Class E.
No.
But obviously, they can switch at those frequencies. So,
I suppose the biasing's so critical, isn't it? When you're dealing with transistor gear, you just got to thermal runaway is always on the thing.
You make one mistake and it just doesn't glow red. It just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work. It just that's it. Then there's a crap unsoldering job to be done.
I know.
And then you get the soldering iron too hot on the transistor, and then you cook another one, and then you end up wrecking the circuit board. And I think valves are probably a lot easier to work with in that sense.
Yeah, I think they are in that sense.
Yeah, no, look, it's always worthwhile.
Yeah.
You've got to try new things. But no, any developments would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, I'll let you get back to the music.
Oh, well, we'll follow on and we'll do something else.
And you'll be on tonight again?
Yes, I expect so, yeah. No,
you spend so many hours on the air.
Well, I spend a lot of time in this room and, stuff happens in between, but yeah.
It's interesting to see here. It's good. I basically live in this area, this block here.
Yeah.
And I go into the house maybe for a meal or something. And it's good because it's two separate residences, really.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd survive if you only had one house.
Oh, yeah. People need their own zone.
Yeah, so you've got that separate zone. And
William lives downstairs where he's gaming and doing all his stuff. He lives in that storeroom under the house now.
Right.
And Henry lives in the lounge room in his room. No one else goes in there. The girls have their own room. So we find it's it's quite convenient, and I live in here. So, we all got our own little domain, and I think that's the only way to cope in these sort of closed shop situations when you've got families.
Well, that's right, yeah. It's interesting because I haven't. The first time I've experienced it, really.
Yes, of course. So we're all conditioned. We're all boiled frogs.
Little sheep who have been.
Yeah, that's right. We've been boiled in the frog mix.
Lemmingized.
That's right.
You'll be jumping over the cliff soon.
Yes, that's right. The lemmings. Yeah, that's it. No, we're not going upstream yet. But anyhow.
Good evening, Steve. Good evening, Dave.
Oh, g'day, Frank. Hi.
Mr. Frank.
Yay.
And the other Frank as well.
I think the other Frank's there as well. Yeah, I think.
Other Frank?
Yeah.
And good evening, yes I am.
Yeah, very good. Oh, well, we've got a contingency here. Now, look, we'll have to have other inputs, I think. We'll have to explore a couple of extra inputs and see what we can do there. That'll be the next frontier, I think, trying to get a bit more serviceability. But, yeah, it's no, look, I think we have to find things to do. Now, I think the best thing to do in these situations is to find an outlet and just get involved and just don't look out and beyond, because it's all a bit bleak. And I think that's why a lot of very great discoveries and developments were made during times of restriction, because people will bunk it down. So I think it's that's one of the good things. Yeah. Anyhow, well, how's what's news with you, Mr. JR?
Not a lot. I had an unscheduled medical appointment to get a new thing for my sleep apnea rubbish that I have.
Okay, sure.
And otherwise, I had a good look at the Wikipedia entry on Thunderbirds.
Oh yes.
John Tate was actually in last night's episode.
Oh, was he really?
He was the guy who hired the boat fella.
Oh, okay.
and Forces of Evil Man.
So he's the one with the American accent.
Yeah, he was. That's right.
Yeah, okay. That's great.
And there is more than one woman in it. Tintin is someone called Christine Finn.
Oh, I always thought she was Sylvia.
So did I. She's not.
She's not.
Sylvia is, of course, Lady Penelope.
She's Lady Penelope. Mm.
And also Christine is also Grandma.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Lady Penelope is a mum, I think.
Oh, fair enough. There we go.
So this is
we're all getting educated here.
John Tate and
Ray Barrett
Tingwell don't occur in the credits. Don't get a billing in the credits, but they're in it.
They're in it. Okay. Wasn't Bud Tingwell John up in the space station?
No, I don't think so.
Right, okay, fair enough.
He could be.
Yeah, no, maybe not. I seem to remember he was one of the... Yeah, I'll have to go and have a look myself. Yeah. So, poor old John, what a lonely life. Now, he would have been bored out of his brain up there. up there in the space station. I hope he had some 6CM5s and 807s to muck around with, because that would have been a very lonesome existence.
I think they let him come down every 3 months for about a week,
Yeah, gee. God, what a life up there. Well, I suppose you could just gaze at the stars and just, you could be like a yogi or a philosopher up there.
I just wanted to write a book or something like that.
Yeah, you could. That's what. Sorry, go on.
Oh, if you talk about a lonely existence, there's a few new things up on the NSFA website.
Oh yes.
Films, and there's one on it's Lighthouse Keepers at Mutsika Island.
Oh right.
And it's it goes about half an hour, and they got supplied every 3 months, and it shows them lighting the wick and all sort of stuff.
Okay.
And they use it. It was 1949 it was made. They were using a pedal wireless. You think they would have given it a number 19 a set or something, a bit more modern than 2 watts from a pub. But anyway, that's what they use.
I have to look at that
and
one.
Since our lighthouse experience,
yes,
it's quite interesting.
It would be. It would certainly be quite a close connection with that experience we did have. So I'll look that up for sure. I did see it sort of pop up, and I didn't follow it through. So definitely worth a viewing then. Okay, yeah. So which lighthouse was it? When I was looking at it briefly, I was trying to work it out.
It's the one. Mutsika Island, below, it's southwest Tasmania.
Ah,
yeah,
okay,
you
sure.
can see it from down there. Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's a mostly fairly remote area.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Good. All right, I'll definitely have a look at that. Yeah, I noticed they've been putting up quite a bit lately, the NFSA. So they're sort of, but I haven't followed up with any of their vids in recent times. I know Mr. Cinepix has put up a very good one on the Summers Camp. I played that yesterday, actually, on a sort of a family camp on the Mornington Peninsula in the 40s.
He's got some great stuff up there. 2 hits, but still a skill.
Yes, I know. Doesn't it? He does a good job transferring them. They come up very nicely.
Oh, he does some excellent work.
Yeah.
I think the NSFA, they're doing a lot of stuff. They've got a backlog of stuff they just transferred in SD.
Yeah, right.
And it's probably I think they're doing everything in HD now.
Yeah.
But these are transfers probably done 10 years, 20 years ago or something.
Sure.
So I think that's the reason they're just getting a backlog and haven't got the time to redo them.
Okay.
But all very good. And
all right. Well, that's all right. No, I refer people to those. Have a look at Mr. Cinepix and Cinepix, I think it is. That's Mr. Trickett out there in Geelong and the NFSA, of course. So,
those lighthouse people, it was a lonely life. 3 families lived on the hill. There was hardly any area for them to play with. Talk about locked in. They really were.
Well, you certainly were, because you had to go and light the wick and do the weather and all these sort of urbane things, but on 3-hour rotations. So,
you'd have to be a very special kind of person to do that.
Oh, I think so. Look, it's unimaginable actually. You are so constrained.
They had. Well, there's no internet. They just had to take books and magazines every 3 months. I guess if they want to listen to the wireless, had to pedal, so they probably didn't listen to that much. So really,
That's
they
cruel.
had it was a kerosene lamp, a pressure lamp, and in the house it's all just kerosene lamps, and they've got coppers to wash the clothes, and it's just, it would be fun for maybe a week. It could be fun, but then you think, not so good.
Well, your life is just enslaved by domesticity. I suppose that's the way it's always been throughout history, really.
It's like going back to living on the moors in 1700.
That's exactly it. Yeah, precisely. Look, everyone was enslaved by their domestic necessities, and you just spend most of the day doing basic keeping alive stuff.
That's what they do. They had to had to catch the sheep on that steep 2 acres. It wasn't bush, wasn't jungle.
Yep.
And then they had a cow. They had to milk the cow if they wanted milk. And they had a few crops, but not much droves on Mutsika Island. And they just had tinned food from the ship.
God.
Really?
Yeah. They must look forward to seeing the ship come in. They must be looking for days on end at the horizon, just waiting for that moment when they see it as a spot on the horizon, and then everyone gets excited, and then the moment the ship comes in would be like Christmas.
And apparently, because the weather's so fickle, when the ship did get it, it could only be maybe an hour's window before the weather went bad, so it just come in and out, no nice business, no coming up for a cup of tea, just in and out, load the stuff and
then piss off
before a storm happens.
It's terrible. It's really something. It's crazy stuff. You'd feel so isolated. You feel so abandoned. But I suppose, as Frank said, it takes a certain personality, someone who just who needs super routines and can sort of live like that. But,
see, Deal you had a whole island you could walk around. Deal's a totally different deal.
Oh, look, yes, it is.
But Mutsyke is like a rock.
Yeah.
And what isn't just sheer cliffs is just that Tasmanian bush you can't even get through.
Yeah.
There's a couple of acres cleared with the houses and the lighthouse, and that was it.
Yes, for sure.
And to go down the thing, they had this like ropeway. It was so steep that they had to haul everything up a thing.
Yep.
And there's no just fishing on the beach. There wasn't one. They're just living on a rock.
Yeah. No, it's unimaginable. I don't know. Gabo Island would have been a bit like that too, I imagine.
Yeah,
that's
not
like
quite as bad.
Yeah.
But I think Deal will be nice.
Yes,
or
Deal.
Little bays and
you got little beaches.
Fantastic place.
Go for a bit of a walk and
ships would come in and boats and stuff.
Yeah, you would. You'd see constant traffic. It's certainly in the in the traffic zone, so you'd be getting traffic from Victoria to Tasmania and back, but maybe not so much in the very early days. It would have been lonely in the 1840s.
Yeah.
But early days. But incredible. It's interesting to contemplate the life of these pioneers in crazy, in extraordinary circumstances. Yeah, I've been reading a bit about that. I went and did that walk that we did a few years ago up at near Powelltown. And I did a section of it, and I did another area of it with my daughters, and we camped out in one of those old mill sites. And I do like that area because it's got very mature trees and lovely rainforest gullies, and it's quite I think it was freezing cold, but it was nice to be back there and escape the city for a little bit. It's not that different from your Millgrove area, really. And but I was reading about some of the high climbers and some of the people who inhabited those bush mills and the lifestyle there. I tell you what, that was a pretty rough existence as well. Just they were really isolated, and in that instance, it would have been days to get back into civilization, not years or months. But it's interesting, just the whole business of how they had to harvest these huge trees and climb up to the top, and everyone had their roles, and the whole sort of system of harvesting was so involved and so intercorrelated with all with the mill operation and with getting the trains in the right place at the right time and the winching systems in place. And it's quite a fascinating culture.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And people I suppose life was rough in those days. So,
different way of living.
Yeah, and people had different aspirations. I
think they did, or different thresholds. I suppose you sort of don't look out for the same niceties, and we're all very cushioned now. But no, look, it's just always interesting to contemplate the pioneer spirit. Anyway,
all the clothes they wore suits all the time.
Yes,
even they're cutting the logs and everything.
That's right.
Probably wore the same clothes for 5 weeks till they wore out, I think.
Yes. I noticed that Mr. Stamford, who's the authority on light rail, he must be in his 90s now because he has been doing it for decades. He made some comments on your 9.5mm film, the one with your folks up in Warburton.
Oh, yes.
And I think he made a comment about how unique that little small snippet of footage of Powelltown with one of those the bush locomotives is one of the only known films to exist of that operation. So,
yes.
So it's a bit significant. Yeah. So
now it's interesting on YouTube. I put up the police bash videos.
Oh, I noticed that went up.
Yeah. Now they kept getting knocked back as violence and unsuitable. And
really?
Yep. And I thought, compared to what's on YouTube, it's nothing really.
Gosh.
But I had to actually change the names and put a softer, thumbnail and stuff that didn't show.
Really?
I thought it would. Compared, you can watch South Africa people being shot in the streets.
Yes, of course you can.
And it doesn't get blocked. But,
so it's all in the title.
You have to change the title. I think the thumbnail can't be too violent.
Yeah.
And
how extraordinary is that?
Yeah,
So,
it's so.
Well, that says a lot about our police operations, doesn't it?
Well, it's very interesting. So
yes.
we'll see how it
See what happens. Yeah, gosh. Well, that's quite fascinating. I'm intrigued to hear that because. Yeah, I don't know what they're... I mean, you heard that I got a strike the other day.
Now, what happened actually?
Well, I mean, I've been doing what I'm doing for a long time now, and I've also, before that, I was putting all the 78s up and lots of recordings. But it seems like those episodes of the Thunderbirds are sacrosanct. And because I got a note saying that my stream is being withdrawn, or the stream is being cut, pending an investigation, and then about 5 minutes later it says we've reviewed this and we think it's a gross violation of copyright, therefore this is a strike, and blah blah blah, all of the warnings. Now I've never had anything like that.
So it was
before.
A real strike.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Shit, so it's a bit of a worry. Well, it's sort of, well, it is and it isn't, because I think they've changed all that again. It says this is a warning, and it's come up as a strike, and it says if you get a number one strike next time, they will shut me down for a month. So that's the new way, I think, is that. Yeah. So you basically get shut down for a month with one strike, and then I suppose if you just kept doing it in the next month or so. I think the sort of thing that happened to Mr. Hare, where he got 3 strikes in quick succession because he put up 3 recordings, 3 chapel discs of a particular kind. I think that that sort of thing is less likely to happen because you can sort of displace, and it gives you a bit of thinking time, or you can reflect and modify if you need to. So I thought that was interesting, but anyhow, it was pretty full on. The nature of the response was a bit of a saber rattling.
Yeah,
and I'd never seen anything like that. And it was completely removed, the whole log of that program. And I mean, the offending material was only at the very end after a 2-hour emissions, and so interesting, hey?
Yeah, well, mine it said It's come to our panel has reviewed the footage and it's considered too violent and too this and too that, and doesn't guidelines.
Okay.
And I thought, well, it was on the national news. 25 years ago.
Mind you, these were what you put up with the outtakes.
Yeah, but still they did go on, I think. But but the outtakes, so. What I did, the first one seemed to be okay. The second one I couldn't put up, so I just, you can't put the same footage up on this channel twice, so I just cut out a couple of seconds of just nothing, boring stuff.
Oh, okay. And did you just call it cat video or something?
Well, I called it something else, Nice Day in the City or something.
Yes.
And I just used the generic frame that came up on which unfortunately I'm in, but anyway.
Okay, all right.
I didn't plan that. But the thing is that then it was okay.
Right, okay.
Because the algorithm must check I think they checked the thumbnail and the name.
Right, okay.
And but I thought panel, it's just an algorithm, no one's looked at it. And but see, a lot of people now they use YouTube to point it to BitChute or one of the other ones.
Oh, okay.
It happens quite a bit, particularly on more controversial. Like you can't put any medical stuff that might query the establishment.
Oh,
so if you have it on YouTube, you say go to our the other site.
Oh yes, it's like a clickbait or something like that.
Well, no, so just we can't tell you what we want to say here, but go
yes,
to
or refer. So if someone's
That's right,
sufficiently interested, they'll go and
so
look at a blog or something. Yeah,
because the YouTube's so easy to search. So then people go to one of the other things. So
That's
YouTube
right.
might have a think about it, because if people are using them as a referral service and losing all the viewers to another, actually promoting another service, because they won't let certain things go on. And I'm not just talking about violence and crap like that, but anything that's not in their agenda, they should have a think about it, because it doesn't take much for one of the other services to just get a bit better and then take the threshold, and goodbye YouTube. You're just Netscape or something.
Well, it could be, but I'm wondering now. I mean, that sort of thing happened 10 years ago, but it's sort of the main systems have been holding up very well. I mean, they're just so big. Facebook hasn't sort of gone under. Twitter hasn't gone under. YouTube's seemingly strong as ever. It seems like there's enough critical mass for them to sort of weather a lot of this sort of stuff now, but I don't know. It's an interesting one.
There's an awful lot of alternative stuff on the other mediums.
Yeah, sure.
If you want to get a different point of view.
Yeah, look, fair enough. No, I appreciate that.
And, they're not as good. The quality's not as good. They buffer a bit. But they're an alternative. Yes,
that's right. The Daily Motion was sort of touted as a sort of another fairly mainstreamish alternative, but I don't know how that's holding up now.
It's Odyssey's a big one as well.
Is it? Yeah. Sure.
So look, they've got billions of things on them, but it's all, I suppose, see what happens. But
and how about Library? Library. Have you ever used Library?
Well, Odyssey is the new version of Library.
Oh, really?
They changed the name.
Yeah.
But see, all my stuff that I got from Laurie, all the serials, that's on my paid site. So
yeah, sure.
No one can do anything about that.
No, you're hosting it. Yeah, so that's fine. That's
so they're not going to go and do something about that, hopefully.
That's your original GeoCities site, isn't it? Well, revamped.
Well, that's right. And I got an email from someone from a certain FM public radio station saying, we'd like to use some of your old advertisements on our program. I don't mind. That's fine.
Sure.
Could you package them in MP3 format, such and such, so we can use them? And I thought, if you want to use them, just take them off the website.
Just grab them.
I'm not going to spend time making them up for you to use.
No.
What arrogance!
That's a real Gen Y response, isn't it? Yeah, crazy. No, just as if anyone's going to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, give me $100 an hour.
Exactly. I could say yes, certainly commercial rates, or just download them and do them yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah, that is pathetic. That's crazy. Yeah.
The whole list of the technical criteria they needed for these MP3s.
Oh, how ridiculous is that? As if you're going to do that. As if anyone's going to sit there and knit sweaters for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I should just go and cut them discs and give them vinyl and charge them
get a dictaphone, put them all on on some obsolete form.
Oh, an Edison cylinder. That would be great.
Yeah, that's right. You could use some really obsolescent, ADAT or something.
Yeah, that's right, DAT recorder.
Something that's a mini disc, something that they won't be able to play. So here they are. Here's the original source. Yeah, carts. You could give them a whole bin full of carts.
That's right. That's what they came on. Here we are. Here's the originals.
Yes, that's right. Just give them a big reel of tape. Go for it.
Yep.
Oh, crazy stuff.
Yeah,
well. But you're still getting a fair few hits on your... you were getting a fair bit of sort of, quite a lot of downloads, weren't you?
I haven't looked at the statistics for a long time, probably for a year.
Okay.
I've sort of lost interest a bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I turned the streaming service off, a few months back.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I had an announcement on for a couple of weeks saying it was going off.
Yep.
And then it went off. Mm-hmm. And the replies I got was 0.
Oh, really?
0. So I thought, well, I've been doing that for 15 years, and no one's been listening. So what's the point?
It's about 3 people, I think.
Yep.
Get to 3 regulars who...
That's right. And I thought, well, all that time and effort, all the electricity wasted running a computer, and it's so quiet out here without that...
without the whir.
That's right. And I thought,
and the lazy fan that's all gone wonky because it's been on for 7 years.
Yes, that's right. They always do that.
Yeah, that's right. Mine does that here. It's like a bad lawnmower.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, so I thought, well, it was a relief. And I go out, and think, oh, no, something's gone wrong. I have to go into the thing and work out why.
Go into your port forwarding.
Yes,
and
do all that.
Yeah.
I spent hours of that for 1 or 2 people to listen.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, mind you, that's what happens with these missions. I think it's 1 or 2 people listening. But yes, okay, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yes, you should. And when when the Wednesday night missions went off when I was away, I got exactly 0 emails, exactly 0 complaints, exactly 0 comments. I thought, well,
I don't
so much for that. And then when the main one went off, I got one email from somebody I already knew, So it's pointless. We think we're doing something. It's nothing.
Oh, it's nothing. But look, it is on the air. There's a sort of an incidental thing. People sort of strike upon it, and it just sort of has a, it registers on a certain level. I don't think there are that many people who dedicated who will listen in all the time.
They won't listen. Yeah. Or when they're fixing up the receivers or they tune across, they might listen for a few seconds or minutes or something.
Yeah, that's it. I think that tends to be
or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. They'll hear a little bit, and it's sort of something. It's a bit of wallpaper, but dedicated listeners I think are very few and far between. I think it's more in our imaginations really, but that's the way it is. No, I think you're probably relishing in your new freedoms. Well, you've been cut loose for quite a while now.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, well, you're sort of tied to it for a long time.
I know. When I think
a lot of decades, Dave.
A life wasted, totally wasted.
No, never say that. Can't say that. Served a purpose. It was an endeavour. The people will do PhDs on it one day, though. It's the ultimate 7-up.
It is sort of.
It sort of is, and particularly during what's significant. It was during that sort of move from the hardcore analog technology to digital, and you really sort of braced that era, that massive change. And I think that in itself is probably significant because you've got the same people talking about these changes as they affected their lives, and you had industry experience and other people coming from different points. So I think it will hold up. Mr. Newbeck will do his second PhD on it.
Well, yeah, and look, maybe they do one every 7 years.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And we do a big 7-up.
Yeah, do a big missions, have a big big party, like a pulse party, and every 7 years.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, we'll get a few more in.
And we'll find out where people are living and what they're doing.
Yeah, that's right. It sort of happens at Christmas time anyhow, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
But that's it. You could just get the missions rolling in some sort of.
Just make sure you do it maybe every 5 or 6, not 7, so you can't be hacked for that either.
That's right. Yes, 6 up.
Yeah, that's it. That's true. Yeah, you have to make it 6 up, not 7 up, because that's already. That's packaged. Yeah. Oh well. No, these are long-standing traditions. No, you've got to move on. Everyone. I mean, these are phases. This is a phase for me, and I'll move on soon. I'm just locked at home all the time, and for one reason or another, more reasons than not at the moment. But
well, see, you'd prefer to be walking around.
I want to go and see places.
In Romania, wouldn't you?
Yes, I want to get out and do walks and nice things, and discover new places and be more active. But look, before I did these, before I chose, and I'll make this clear, I did choose to have a family, but I had 14 years of married life before kids came along, or 14 years together, and we travelled everywhere. We didn't even live in the house. We lived in little apartments, and all this crap that's in this room, what hasn't been bought at Hamfest, was just in storage. And, most of the 78s I've got in here, I picked up when I was a teenager. So, it's sort of all come about in a funny way, and it's serving a sort of interesting purpose because I'm sort of into nostalgia. But, yeah, there will come a time when everything will need to move on and there'll be another tangent, and, my family will flee, and then I'll have a lot more time and to do the things I want to do.
Well, it's certainly, to have your freedom before you have a family is not a bad idea because you're young and you can do a totally different situation.
Yeah, we're overseas every year. We lived overseas for years.
I think it's a good idea until until you're too old to do anything.
Exactly.
And then, of course, you've got grandkids and you don't want to go away. You're stuck at home, people are like that. So
they do. They get ossified,
rusted
on, crusted on. Yes, and then they go up on radio nets in the mornings. Yes.
Oh, God. I have occasionally. It is unbelievable.
The
things they talk about.
That's all right.
The ducks and walking up the street.
Yeah, well,
and I like the hoovering. That's good.
Oh, well, hoovering's very important. It's very cathartic. People like the movement. They like the visceral experience. They vibrate those hoovers.
Yeah, so it's really interesting.
Oh yes. So it's all the domestic. It's the domestic.
Ah, yes. I remember when.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's all our Allen seals come out of the and they all have a story. Gardens and edges and pressing pants and domestic appliances, cars, washing. Yeah, that's all. Look, it's all part and parcel. It's horses for courses. That makes some people very happy.
Well, it does. It makes them really happy.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine. They're entitled to it.
It's old Mr. Loop's receiver's now almost useless.
Yeah, I think he had problems in that big storm.
Yeah, but it's just all buzz. I get better reception here, listening on a bit of wire in the room.
Yes, I know. I'm using the TLW, whatever the.
Well, he's good at your load.
Yes, well, it's nice and close for me just to check, but no, but the other one's not going. But the iron, the best one I find is the
Ironbound range.
Ironbound.
It's incredible, isn't it?
I couldn't believe the other night when I was at the end of the program and I was putting on some Thunderbirds. I tuned into Ironbound and it sounded fantastic. It really, I mean, sure, it's the B-mits and it's a distance, but for what it was really coming through very well. So that was it's something, but of course that's probably in the middle of nowhere.
I don't think it's that far from Adelaide.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's well set up for it. Probably has a Rombrick or something.
Well, there's a photo of his antenna at the front with that vertical thing he's got.
Oh, okay. I'll have another look.
Yeah, when you go onto the page. But there's very few that are really good. I see that Tascan Radios is gone, or not up at the moment. And a few have just got pathetic.
Yeah, the Bay of Islands has gone too.
Which one?
The Bay of Islands.
Yes, that's right. That was one of the best. But look, I think it's one of these things, you do them for a few years, you spend a lot of time and money, and then it comes a bit like what's happened to us. And then it comes in, I'm spending thousands of dollars and most of my spare time to give a free service to people who don't give a shit.
Well, and they probably get criticised. That's the thing.
They do. That would be the problem.
That would be the thing that would really turn anyone off. I mean, it's one thing to sort of go on a whim and just do stuff that appeases one in the moment, but then to have someone criticise you because you're not meeting standards.
Well, that's exactly why I went off.
Yeah, well, you had quite a few.
And you think, well, what's the point? You're doing something, and people don't like it. Well, they can just turn off. Yeah,
of course they can. But it's better to turn off than just criticise and just create havoc. I mean, it's demeaning, really.
I find it ridiculous. You put a YouTube thing up, and people say they just criticise it. They don't like it. It's boring. They hate it. They have voluntarily wasted 10 minutes to watch something they hate.
Yeah.
I would just. After the first few seconds, you don't like it, you look at something else.
Exactly.
Why do they... And people, they watch a TV program or listen to a radio program, then complain and write in and say it's bad.
Yeah,
well,
I know.
There's a thing called choice,
It certainly is. I think that these are trolls. These are people who actually get some negative pleasure.
Yeah.
They like afflicting themselves.
Well,
so,
there's enough people like that around.
I'm afraid so. Probably too many. Yeah.
They just don't like things being,
Well, they want to try and have control in some sort of perverse way, but that's what they do. There's some negative psychology about that sort of behaviour, and the internet's brought the worst of the worst out. You get.
I think there's very often people who don't achieve themselves, and they're very worried about not achieving, but their way to try and equalise things is to tear down other people.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's something like that, Frank. Yeah.
And look, the digital age, as good as it is, there is some retrospective sort of grief that the time has been lost, and there was something about it, the analogue, the pre-internet age. Everything is so easy in some respects. It's
well, look,
it's being used for the wrong things, and
well, I think in some ways it just creates sort of saturation, and people don't. And it creates these little internal feedback loops. My biggest criticism is that it creates this sort of echo chambers.
Oh, yeah.
And so people just sort of become, just sort of in closed loop motion. So they don't really grow. Yeah. And then the thing I hate is when I suddenly realise I've spent 6 hours watching YouTube or doing something like that, and I could have been outside. I could have made a choice to do something else, and there's sort of a yuck factor sometimes.
Yeah, like I guess if the weather's crap and you're stuck, inside or whatever, it's okay. But I find there's so much to watch on YouTube. You're watching all the radio stuff and travel stuff. Then I'm sick. I've seen so much. I don't care. I don't want to see anymore. And doing something physical, even if it's just building mittens or something, or doing something like that, or playing music, something that's not looking at an LCD. Most people spend most of their lives.
Well, that's right.
It's terrible.
It is. It's not good. It's sort of I don't know. People just become blinkered. anaesthetised, I suppose, and it's probably not that healthier for the. But in terms of getting perspectives on reality, and especially in the sense of being productive and proactive and in creating stuff using your senses. It's just sort of just uses one sense, and it's just one sort of very channeled way of operating.
That's right.
And I think that we're sort of designed or built or evolved, I should say, to sort of use all our available senses to interact with the world.
Be with people in a physical sense as well, not just on a screen. It's
right.
It's a very poor
substitute, really.
It certainly is.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
It's all, I just find, as you say, I've just spent hours doing nothing really.
Yeah, I know. It can be a really rude shock sometimes, especially if it's a nice day and then you think, what the F, I've just spent so many hours just doing something really... Yeah, sure, it sort of satisfied an itch, I suppose, or an interest, but it's not deeply fulfilling. And I think I could have been practiced. I could have learned a whole piece in that time. You could have. And I'd be all the richer for doing that, or I could have done something else.
You could have improved yourself a bit.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's like any job, doing particularly technical stuff, it takes so long to do something. Something always goes wrong, it takes longer. And so you can waste time doing that, but it doesn't seem such a waste. And then you've worked till 3 o'clock in the morning, you go to bed, you feel sort of rejuvenated, you feel tired because you've actually been using your body and mind to create something, even though it might be pathetic, but it's something rather than just looking at third-party stuff coming into your head.
Totally. It's more authentic. It's an authentic experience because you're actually physically involved in the process and you're using real space and you're using real tactile aspects of our sensations, and you're intellectually involved as well, and it's trial and error. And I think we actually need to have trial and error, whereas the sort of self-fulfilling aspects of stuff, that's watching online tends to sort of fulfill. It's a bit one-dimensional.
It is.
It's just ultra stim all the time. You're not having to sort of tease problems out and work things out. Yeah, so I think that's the big difference too.
Yeah, so maybe we're just old school, but...
maybe, but no, I don't know. I reckon... I think there's a lot in that.
You get too much of it, you get sick of it, and you need variety.
Yeah, we all should be out there mowing our lawns and washing our cars.
We can talk about it in the morning and mow the lawn. And, but anyway, it's all to the bad.
Yes.
And Frank, I saw you at the Barry sale, but I didn't. I was going to say hello, Frank Jr. But I was so busy in a spending.
You had a spending frenzy.
It was amazing.
You were frothing.
That I left it all behind anyhow.
You did. You left it all still sitting in the room for you. It's there waiting for you.
Good.
But the club's not going to open up for about another 5 years, so you'll have to wait for a bit.
I think it'll be there. It'll be valuable antique equipment then.
Yeah,
but I was so excited after years of no buying. I just bought everything, spending away with getting my money. I went to the bank, get all my $50 notes, spreading them out, buying all the stuff I didn't need, and got those mitters, the expensive mitters, put them in the car, talked to people, and then went home and I left all of the stuff
you left
in the room.
You left all your coax switches there.
They're the things I really need.
Yeah, that'd be quite useful actually, especially for your new MIT system. Yeah. Oh, look, it's all still there. I'm sure no one's taken it. Leighton spoke to me a little while ago and said,
I think it's safe.
It's safe as houses. But
See,
and your
now,
Waltham's cloth wire, you left that behind.
Which was this?
Your Waltham's cloth wire.
I know. That would have been good to wire everything up with that wire.
Yes, of course.
And
that's obligatory. You have to do that.
Yep, I'm going through all my prepper wire at the moment.
Ah,
you can never have too much.
That's right. All on little reels. That looks very organised.
That's right.
Very domestic, Dave.
It is. See, at this time, I was expecting to be building my shortwave station in my new property.
Yes, that's right.
I was going to have a nice little farm, and I was going to build a big mitters room, and all this stuff, and it just it's all gone to shit.
It has.
So I'm stuck where I was.
Yes, you're back to the future. You'll get there, but it'll be a while. But anyhow, no news on the.
No, I think I'll give him a call next week if I don't get hold of him.
You got to nudge these people because it is sort of more of a goodwill gesture as much as anything, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is like it's a bit. He's going to make some money out of it. It's not like he's not doing it for fun. So you'd think he would have got in contact.
Yes,
I don't know.
okay.
Even if he said, "Look, I'm not prepared. I don't want to. It's too hard. I don't want to do it anymore, or whatever."
Yeah.
But he hasn't got in contact with me, and as I said, I think he might be sick or worse.
Oh dear. Let's hope it's not worse.
Yeah, well.
But people do sort of tend to become a bit insular at this time anyhow, this lockdown time.
Well, you think it'd give him something to do?
You think so? Yeah. Oh well.
Anyway, we'll
so
see what happens.
it hasn't changed on the. You looked up on the map and you.
That hasn't moved.
Hasn't moved at all.
He did all that, then he sort of stopped.
Yeah, so he's got halfway.
Yeah, so at least something's being done.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know. But
well, it's good. Well, sort of on one level you're there because you're sort of defined. So maybe you could say
that's right.
it's there.
There's nothing. I'm not allocated anything, so I suppose I can use any frequency I like.
You can, because you are sort of there. So unassigned. So maybe you can just sort of make a few presumptions and go.
Yeah, that's right. And you say, look, they couldn't care less anyhow.
They won't care anyhow. No. You've already been testing. It's really
one thing about doing the filling in for you the other week.
Oh yes.
Which no one listened. I got no comments, no nothing. But it means you can do 2 hours of missions AM. And there's no complaints from anybody anywhere. No, obviously, I spoke to the neighbour afterwards. No one made any mention of it. I think now people have got everything's Wi-Fi and HDMI cables. Yeah. It's not an issue anymore. No,
you don't have your speaker systems and your computer audio and stuff like that, and that's susceptible. So that's a good outcome. So you don't need to worry.
You haven't had any trouble on AM, I gather.
No, I haven't had any reports. I've spoken to most of our neighbours, and no one said anything about this time.
Right.
And so I think it's all sort of okay. I know if I'm not tuned up properly, the family can hear me inside, or Henry can hear me through his headphones. But if it's tuned up well, it's all fine. So it seems to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
so that's all right.
It's, if you all you need now is a kilowatt, and you'll be right.
Yeah. So look, you probably could run bigger power from home, and no one would.
I think you could run it a couple of 100 watts at least.
Yes, before anyone would even.
Well, of course, when I was on, I had had 200 watt mitters. So
yes, of course.
And
okay.
So it's good. It's not a problem. I think when we had those little terrible computer speakers, they were a terrible thing. And old, hi-fi systems with RCA leads everywhere and magnetic pickups. And,
that's the problem.
It was just hopeless.
It's that sort of thing, and tape machines, cassette players with their sort of heads and stuff like that, get into all of that sort of equipment.
And now TV, when we had analog, there was always herringbone, fine herringbone.
Yes.
But now it's digital, it doesn't make any difference.
It doesn't make any difference at all. No, everyone's HDMI compliant now, and it's all easy go. No, that's the thing. We've sort of moved on in that regard. In fact, we've even moved on from plasma sets now. So it's all LCD. So that's a good thing because we don't have
they're terribly noisy things.
Yeah, we don't have that problem anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased we chosen a good inverter here when we put the new solar panels on. That's not noisy. I got a better one. So
have you got the ones built into the panel or a separate one?
No, it's a separate inverter.
Right. Yeah, probably a better idea, I think.
I think so. Yes, the old one's here for you when you want it.
Look, when next year we'll come and pick it up.
Yes, that's right.
And
no, it'll probably an easy fix. It's just got a bit cooked, but it's you can still get cards for them actually. But no. There's a lot of hardware as well. So you're welcome to. There's things like the aluminium big. The big things that they.
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
So, shall I hang on to those?
Yeah, hang on to them. Look, of course, if I,
because then you could do a proper install.
Yeah, to do a proper install, and they're just leaning against the fence. I've cleaned them all the things
grime off it, yeah.
And they all seem to work okay. I think they're 36-volt panels.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
But no, look. They seem to be fine, and I'll certainly put them to use.
Oh, that's good. Excellent. Yeah, in the next 10 years. Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, no, that's all very good.
Yeah, well, I suppose I better let you go and
well, let's see. Yes, we'll put a few things on,
this
and
is
then
becoming a bit of a talk talk show.
Oh,
It's a music show now.
Yeah, well, it's filling a gap. It's giving me something to do.
Gap year.
Gap year, that's
which
right.
Is gap second year.
Yes. Mind the gap. That's what they say.
Oh, yeah.
Stand clear. Yeah, anyhow.
Well, I'll go and do some more tests.
Okay,
And,
well, very good. Well, thanks for the update,
Frank
Dave.
and Frank.
Yay, all right, good to catch up.
We'll speak to you next time.
Well, indeed we will. Thanks for that.
Dave, take care.
Yeah, good to chat. Yay, so anyhow, now we'll look forward to the next 6CM5 update, and that's our hollow tube correspondent there. And, well, we've just been testing here, of course. It's the name of the game. And I'm trying this ELAC Mirror Twin cartridge with the correct starter, which didn't work before. But I've been using this rubbery new. And I'm going through some piles of 78s in really bad condition. And I'm just interested to hear how well it works on these discs. It tends to have it's a mono card. And I've been very impressed with this in the past. When I first had it going, it was great. Well, look, here's another one. Here's a rather bashed up old Parlophonium. It's Gene Krupa and the band. We'll put this on as a stopgap, and if anyone wants to chat, I'm happy to hang around for a bit longer. Let's hear.
Test the compliance of the cartridge.
Yeah, we'll give it.
Gene usually makes a bit of noise.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. He certainly does. So we'll hear Gene Krupa and his orchestra, and this one's called Prelude to a Stomp. So we'll just engage. I like this Bayer because it's got a big clutch, and it's like using one of those old Ferguson tractors. You just sort of double the clutch and you clunk things into gear, and then it's all terribly, terribly agricultural. vk3sl. And through the haze, we back announce Gene Krupa and the band. And here we go. We just have the Bayer in full motion at the moment and trying out this ELAC Mirror Twin with its Stardust. And that record is would be deemed unplayable. Sort of does sound a bit unplayable. I'm trying to find a record in good condition to play. There's nothing in good condition here. This is the B collection, or the C collection. These records are all, everything here is just crap. They are not in good condition. Let's find something. Wouldn't it be nice if I could find 178 that was pristine? There's probably some on the shelf, but they never are there when you want them to be there. Here we go. Let's have a look. Oh, this one's a bit better. Nat Ganella, Studies in Swing, number 1.
Excellent.
Let's have a listen to Mr. Nat Ganella play Tiger Rag. From about 1936, I think these came out. Let's see what happens. Some nice cross rhythms there from Nat Ganella and his rendition of Tiger Rag. This is vk3sl and we're testing here on 160 and on UHF as well. That's 438.725 and streaming online. Streaming service which is holding up so far, so good. And a little bit of a test session here, playing 78s to air. And I'm trying to find a record in good condition, which is nearly impossible here. Here's one that's a little bit better. It's an Australian laminated. I mean, a lot of the classical records I've got here in good condition, but I'm not in the mood for classical music now. I will be later on. Looking forward to our late night session with Frank. And
I just talk very briefly about that.
Yeah.
My pick for jazz is Milt Jackson.
Yeah, Milt Jackson.
And the best vibes player ever known.
Wow.
Says I.
Yeah.
And have you've got something in mind for classical, or do you want a suggestion?
I might just go, well, let's start with Milt, and then I'll see, I don't know, I haven't really thought about the classical side of things yet. Should we just let it sort of happen?
Let it evolve.
Let it evolve? I'll do a random record off the shelf and let's see where that leads us.
Sounds good.
Yay. I might play something controversial. I'll see if I can find
Oh
something.
yeah, that'll increase the
yes.
That'll increase the listenership.
Yes, to half a listener. Yeah, no, that'll be good. No, we'll find some. I might play. I'll see if I can find something that's just a bit out there and not long. I'll temper that. I'll make sure we don't want to turn people off forever. But I've got this idea, sort of in line with what was originally happening when I first started doing these missions. I want to test with sensibilities and hear soundscapes. Yeah,
mentioning this the other night. That would be excellent.
Yeah, look, just a little snapshot of something I don't know much about, but I just want to hear because it's just a window into another parallel universe,
You bet.
another creative enterprise. So we'll
Don't want to get stuck in a rut.
No, never. So we'll find something that's sort of in the art music vogue, but a bit weird as well as everything else. But no, and we'll go with the flow. But yes, Milt Jackson, do you want to send me a few tracks?
I certainly will.
Yeah, if you just send me a link to those. So I look forward to that very much. That'd be great. So we'll fire up about midnight, and we'll have a Milt Jackson expose. That'll be brilliant for a while, and then we'll sort of classic off somewhere. Now this one looks like it's a good condition. It's Mr. Waller, Fats Waller, and his rhythm, again from the mid-1930s on an Australian laminated pressing. I'm just keen to see how good the status is. I don't know. It's possibly getting worse. It sort of worked for a while, but we're trying out this ELAC Mirror Twin. It's got a very high output. It's a variable reluctance. I always like that name, variable reluctance. And cartridge. But let's have a listen.
Makes you lose your speech. Hear them sing, what a peach. Right away I'll safely say it's Georgia May. If you see the men all closing shop, the crowd divides the traffic cop. Just one cause for breaking laws, that's Georgia May. In all beauty shows, that girl's the feature. Everybody knows that she's one gorgeous creature. If you want to play with dynamite, if you want to lose your heart on sight, here's your chance. One glance at Georgia May. In her clothes she walks and looks just like a duchess. If she made you give up everything, made you buy a wedding ring, in a bed you have married Miss Georgia May. Yes, well, all
right there, Mr. Waller, and yeah, I have a feeling there's a bit of native distortion. I don't think this is going to last the distance as much as I'd like it to. It started off really well, but I can try and put a bit of extra weight on. Have I got any dollar coins? No, don't. Oh well, I can put something else. Here we go, here's a box. I'm going to put this on and see if the extra weight might make a difference. Just trying a bit. See if it tracks better. Okay, I think I can probably resolve this to some point with a bit of extra weight on the head shell. Okay, all right, we're sort of testing as we go here. I really want to reinvigorate these ELAC Mirror Twins because I've got 3 of them here and they are fantastic carts. When they work really well. But as I said before, the styling, nearly all styling for these carts, including new old stock, have frozen rubber parts and they're really hard to reinvigorate. I've spent hours with latex rubber gloves and a microscope trying to rebuild the damn things. And maybe there is some sort of injection product you could use, some sort of, I don't know, compliant foam or something that might do the trick. But I'd like to find a way forward because I think they're great. And it's just, I've got about 3 of them, but they're all erect with these particular styling. Too much apple tree. That's what we're playing. Now, Mr. W has asked for a controversial cart. Let's see, what can we find? Going through the carts. I think people have heard the K carpet one. I'll put this on. This is one of my faves. I like this cart for very obvious reasons. Here we go into the slot and...
Darling, how would you like to choose from hundreds of whole rolls of the most exciting carpets in Melbourne?
Oh.
Colours brilliant, patterns beautiful,
Oh.
prices practical.
Oh, honey, where is this fabulous place?
Honey, K's Carpetland is not a place, it's places. 7 places.
Oh, where are these places?
Where do you live?
Oh, I haven't started living yet.
We'll start now at one of these places. Mulgrave, 752 Springvale Road. Moorabbin, 871 Nepean Highway. Nuttawading, 335 Whitehorse Road.
Oh.
Frankston, 30 Young Street. Dandenong, 217 Princess Highway. Footscray, 190 Berkeley Street.
Oh.
And Geelong, 115 High Street in Belmont.
Oh, I just started.
Oh, and she didn't finish. Oh, well, I have to leave the rest of it to your imaginations. I'm struggling. There we go. That was the K carpet. That is a brilliant cart, that one. What else? Leyland. This will be a mini advertisement or something, I think. We'll shove it in. 2-corner phrase. Here we go.
Around the city all day, looking for a parking spot. No way, but if you've got a Mini, you can fit a Mini anywhere. Sure can. When you're driving in your Mini, you don't have to prove a thing. So good for so long. Driving in your Mini, you don't have to prove a thing. So good for so long. Think about economy, you do. Think about the comfort for you. Think about the handling. It's some through when you're driving in your Mini. You don't have to prove a thing.
Mini's got to be Australia's best small car value at a recommended retail price of $2,925.
When you're driving in your Mini, you don't have to prove a thing.
Yes, cart shuffling here on vk3sl test missions, and we've got a few others here. I don't know what they are. Tats Lotto. That's probably a bit boring, but we'll try it. Into the slot, and let's have a listen. Is it going to work? A lot of these are stuffed. It's going through a bit of a rewind. It's having a think, but it might be like our current situation. It might be cyclic redundancy. No, it has stopped, and let's have a listen.
From next Monday, 3KZ gives away 10 $2 Tats Lotto tickets each day. When you hear this sound, phone 3KZ as soon as you can. We'll give $2 Tats Lotto tickets to the first 10 callers. Make sure you're listening for the Tats Lotto sound on 3KZ.
There we go. Tats Lotto City. So now I know where these cartridges all came from. In their requisite well-used format. Now, here we go. Footy match. I don't know if I want to play a football match. Oh, it's good to play football when there's no football. Here we go. This is my little dig.
This Saturday, 3KZ covers the 1975 Grand Final replay. Join Jack Dyer and yours truly, Ian Major, from 1:15 on 1180 radio for all the uninterrupted action of Kangaroos and Hawks. Australia's top football panel will be at the other grounds to keep you informed of all the highlights in the second round of the 76 season. It's brought to you on 3KZ by Carlton and United Breweries.
Well, there we have it. The voice of authority, X3KZ, and it's doing its own fast rewind and fast forward. Oh, is that right? And I'll pull one more off the shelf. This one says Target, so I reckon it'll be something very urbane, very domestic. It'll play into our anaesthetised domestic state. Here we go.
Get set for the savings of a lifetime. You've seen them in your newspaper. You've seen them on telly. Now go get them today at Target's big birthday sale. For instance, a pair of single-bed floral cotton sheets, only $5.98 the two. Double bed size, $7.98 a pair. Men's quality shorts and knitted polyester casual shirts, $1.99 each. At Target's birthday sale today, where you can afford to buy quality.
There we have it, our cart shuffle for the day. I had to find some new ones. I found a big box of carts under the house when I was hiding some stuff away under the house the other day. Yes, there's a lot of junk under. See, this house is being held up by junk. And when they eventually do the big doze, they're going to in for a shock, because there is a lot of crap which is it's all a part of the furniture, but nobody knows about it. So it just sort of hides away, and occasionally we draw upon that resource.
Buried treasure.
Oh, yes, that's right. And so, yeah. Well, I'm being called inside. I've got to go in a minute. But before I do that, before I go into Pizza Land, I've pulled another record from the pile, and it says Lou Raymond and his orchestra with Betsy Gay. And, wait for it, folks, here is Ricochet. And I think I'll follow this with a replay of the Ricochet episode of the Thunderbirds, the Pirate Radio one. We did play it the other night, but I did play it very much at the end of the session. And I'll just have to remember to turn off the stream, but I reckon it deserves another play.
This was the last one they ever did.
Is that right? Really?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness me. All right. Well, we played the first last night. Last night, apparently, was the Alligators.
It was the first.
Yeah.
They did two series. This is the last of the second series, and Alligators first of the first series.
Wow, there we go. We're top and tailing. Well, that's most interesting. All right, well, we'll have a Ricochet with Betsy Gay, and then we'll follow on with the Thunderbirds Ricochet again. And so thanks, folks, for your indulgence, and we'll look forward to your company tomorrow. Probably be back tomorrow afternoon. I can't see nothing else is happening, so we'll just keep the cycle going. And late tonight, Frank and I will host a late night missions from, I'll crank up at 11:30, but we'll start together at about midnight, and we'll feature Milt Jackson. So I'm looking forward to discovering Milt Jackson. I've heard him, but I can't really connect with his sound, so this will be a new discovery for me. And I look forward to it very much. So, Frank, if you're happy to send those tracks, I will line them up.
I'll do them straight after I eat.
Fabulous. That sounds good. All right. Well, let's hear Betsy Gay on the platter. There's nothing like putting a 78 on a Bayer. It's got a certain agricultural authenticity. And I'll put the weight on the pickup arm, and I can sort that out with some $2 coins later on. But this will just get us started, and we will follow on with the Thunderbirds. Thank you, folks. Have a very good evening.
They warned me when you kissed me, your love would ricochet. Your lips would find another, and your heart would go with all my many charms. But then one day you ricocheted to someone else's arms. And baby, I don't want a ricochet romance, I don't want a ricochet love. If you're careless with your kisses, find another turtle dove. I can't live on ricochet romance, no, no, not me. If you're gonna ricochet, baby, I'm gonna set you free. What a fool I was to try. You promised you'd be faithful, and you with your kisses. Find another turtle dove. I can't live on ricochet romance. No, no, not me. If you're gonna ricochet, baby, I'm gonna set you free. When you announced our wedding, you made me mighty proud. I whispered to us company, but you preferred a crowd. You buzzed around the other girls just like a busy bee. And when you finished a buzzing, cousin, you buzzed right back to me. And baby, I don't want a ricochet romance, I don't want a ricochet love. If you're careless with your kisses, find another turtle dove. I can't live on ricochet romance, no, no, not me. If you're gonna ricochet, baby, I'm gonna set you free. If you're gonna ricochet, baby,